Welcome back to the podcast. This week, my guest is Gail Keys Allen. Gail is known as the fairy godmother of life coaching. Gail is a highly sought after business and money coach with over 20 years of experience in accounting. In addition to her accounting background, Gail is also certified by the Life Coach School, and she is dedicated to empowering women to enhance their lives, businesses, and careers. One of the standout details about Gail's work, one of the things that really captured, my attention is that she has a passion for supporting midlife women as they transition from corporate life to full-time entrepreneurship. And I'm sure that comes with so much, and we'll be able to hear from her some of her experiences as she's helping women with that transition. Another standout is that Gail embraces non-traditional relationships. So we'll definitely dig into that and much more during this episode of the Age Has No Limit podcast. And to the audience, you will be truly shocked when Gail reveals her age later in the episode. It's the Age Has No Limit podcast. We're here to show and prove that your age shouldn't prevent you from designing and living the life you want. I'm your host, Patrice Davis. Let's get started. Gail, welcome to the Age Has No Limit podcast.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Excellent. Thank you. We're happy you're here. So I'm really excited to speak with you because you are a combination. You are a life, business, and money coach, and you're certified, right? So unlike many others that may be out there, you're truly certified and you have both the life and work experience. So you can definitely, I'm sure, make some changes, help people make some changes in their lives. Let's start with the quantum faith framework. What exactly is that?
Yeah, it's something that I came up with after I've had my business almost 4 years. And after about a year, I noticed that so many people are qualified to have a business, but they don't have the faith that they can do what they really desire to do. And I start out with asking people, what do they desire? Because to me, desire leads it all. And so many people didn't have the faith, they didn't believe in themselves. And I was raised to have faith. And my mom used to always talk about faith the size of a mustard seed. And so I created an acronym for faith: fully anticipate it to happen. And so that's the framework that when you have a desire, I believe that the desire was put in your heart by God, and you should fully anticipate that you are going to reach that desire as long as you show up for it and have faith in it and take the actions.
Well, I think that acronym, even for me as I'm listening, helps me with some of the transition between wanting something to happen and then truly expecting it to happen. And so the fully anticipate it to happen is number one, I love the acronym. But number two, it really can be helpful to help people really understand that there's a direct connection between your desire and what you truly want to happen, and understanding that anticipation or anticipating it to happen is probably one of the missing links. At least it is for me. So I really appreciate that. Now, you decided to become a life coach. So tell me exactly what made you decide to become a life coach and then actually, turn that business into not just life, but also money and business coaching.
Yeah, it really was because of my own journey. I became a life coach because I wanted to change my life. And I always had a passion for helping other women change their lives, reinvent themselves. So I'm always been the person that friends would come to. And I also, for myself, was always experimenting and reinventing. So I discovered the school I ended up getting certified by. I discovered their podcast. And I love what she was teaching. And one of the things she was teaching is that women can make as much money as they want to make. And no one had ever said that to me. And so I had been on my job for a long time. And actually, I had gotten a raise every year. And in 2019, I worked for a law firm in DC. They decided they weren't going to give me any more raises. And the managing partner told me that I was highly compensated enough.
Mm.
Those are his exact words.
Mm.
And when I went back to my office, it was almost like God was speaking to me. And I heard this message like, they do not get to dictate how much money you make. And so the next year, I was figuring out my life. What is my next move? And I had already been a health coach in the past, and it really didn't work for me. Like, I really wasn't that passionate about it. I mostly did it because of my own health and not necessarily to help other people. And
Mhm.
so I knew about coaching already. And when I decided to change my life, and this woman really inspired it. That's why I decided to get certified by her. And I believe that your business is your life and your life is your business.
Mhm.
I really don't think you can separate it because one affects the other very greatly. And when you're in business for yourself, so much of your life is about the business.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And no matter how much you try to try to create a line, it does bleed in. One bleeds into the other. So I definitely agree with you. And I would say the second thing that kind of caught my attention is nothing like someone telling you that you have a ceiling to motivate you to push past that ceiling.
Oh,
And the third thing is, if I remember correctly, you are a certified is it integrative health? I want to make sure I say that correctly. An integrative health, is that
integrated,
correct?
integrated, yeah.
Integrative. Yes, yes,
Integrate, which
yeah.
means you integrate all different aspects of who you are.
Mhm.
So it pretty much my life coaching was in alignment with that anyway, because you're not just looking at what you're eating or how you're moving, but you're looking at it on a soul base also.
Mhm. Yeah, and that kind of ties into my third question because it sounds like we're already getting a theme in here. We got a theme going, and it's how one thing impacts the other. Because my next question was around whether or not you think someone can be successful with life coaching, like truly be successful, having been coached by someone who obviously knows how to do it well, but if they address some issues as it relates to their life, can they actually also tackle their money issues, assuming they have them? In other words, can you address the life issues without addressing the money issues if they indeed have them, and why not?
No, I don't think you can, because again, your money issues are a direct reflection of your beliefs about who you are and your life.
Yes.
So there, there's no way to separate those different aspects of yourself because one bleeds over into the other.
Mhm.
And a
Yeah.
lot of times I notice with people's coaching or businesses, they only deal with the one aspect, but it's not enough. It
Yeah.
really isn't. And I have most of my clients that come to me, they already know the strategies, but they haven't dealt with themselves.
Mm.
And so that's the bigger piece for me that I help them work on is dealing with themselves as it relates to the business.
Yeah.
Because who are you showing up as the business owner, as the person who works in corporate but wants to transition into your own business? But if you don't have that identity, so I'm really big on transitioning into the identity of the person you're becoming. Because if you don't do that, then you're bringing your limiting beliefs into that business and it's
Absolutely.
not going to serve you.
It's not going to serve you. And using my own experience, number one, I remember when I launched my business, my consulting business. I mean, I literally every day had to work on what I was thinking, what I was trying to do, what was I trying to accomplish, because and this is something that I'm going to ask you, is this something that some of your clients experience? They may be the best VP out there. They may be, traveled and represented their corporations or represented their employers, have been, a beast on stage, whatever the case may be. But then taking that same energy and putting into your business for some people can be a tough transition, because now they're representing themselves. So it's like a raw, unfiltered representation of who you are comes into your business. And some people aren't aren't ready to put themselves out there in a raw and unfiltered way. What are your thoughts about that?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. What
Yeah.
people will say to me is, well, they have the identity of the company they work for behind them, and now it's on them. And they don't, a lot of people don't want to be seen, and they don't even realize it
Yeah.
until they go on this journey. And they feel okay representing the company, but then when it comes to putting themselves out there and saying, I'm backing up what I'm saying, I'm backing up these claims, this is my business, they're very intimidated. And the other thing I hear is, I never did it before.
Mm.
Well, of course, you never did it before.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
So the coaching that I do, it's around a framework called the self-coaching model. And
Mm.
so I teach my clients how to coach themselves, and we look at their thoughts, their feelings, their actions, and their results.
Mm.
So
Mhm.
everything is being filtered through that. So when
Mhm.
I hear them say, I don't know enough,
Mhm.
or I never did this before, then
Mhm.
we're dealing with that thought and working around, is that really true? How can we change that thought? What actions can you take to move you past it so you can get to the result that you desire?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, having, this is something that I've thought about because of course I'm not a life coach, but I realize that there's certain things that happen in our broader society that can impact us on a broad scale. And of course it shows up in us individually. Is there a specific trend that you're noticing in your clients now versus maybe 2 years ago versus when you first launched the business? Any differences that you're noticing in terms of what their needs are? What are some of the challenges that they're experiencing?
Yeah, I think there have been some negative connotations put out there about life coaching lately since the pandemic. And so I noticed that people are more hesitant about, what it means to work with a life coach and what it means to invest at the level that would be necessary for them to invest in to change their life. So there's definitely a difference in especially the investment piece, I would say. And also, people aren't having all the time that they had during COVID to spend online.
Mm.
So I definitely noticed a difference in that. Oh, the other thing I noticed too, initially, especially during COVID and shortly after, a lot of people want to leave their jobs.
Mhm.
Now people are a little bit more hesitant about leaving their jobs.
Mhm.
So they still want to do it,
Yeah.
but they're hesitant about what's required to leave the job and
Yeah.
having their insurance set up and all the little things that need to be set up, to prepare yourself to leave. I'm
Yeah.
seeing that people are more hesitant than they used to be.
That makes me wonder what's behind that. It could, yeah, I don't know. That's very interesting. Is it because during COVID, people had a more stark reminder of, their lives, continuing as an employee versus their lives and the freedom that they wanted as a result of being stuck and boxed in from the pandemic versus now things are kind of going back into the rhythm that they had before and they feel like they have, I don't know, more to lose and they're a little bit more hesitant to sort of putting that on the line. So that's interesting. Yeah, that is very interesting. But now I want to know a little bit more about Gail. So really want to know where you're from, a little bit about your family, and even your corporate experience. I know you said that you have an accounting background. You told us about this person telling you what your salary cap is going to be, and you were like, "Nah, I'm good." But love to learn a little bit more about you.
I have like a really interesting background. So I grew up in New Jersey, on the shore, on the beach. When I was growing up, our house was like three houses from the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
And so I grew up like barefoot, having fun. I have three siblings, and it was just fun. I'm really glad that I grew up where I did and at that time. The educational system was really good there.
Hmm.
Community was really big there. And so then I went to college. I went to Rutgers University in New Brunswick and
Hmm.
got a degree in economics. And then when I finished school, I was like, I need to get out of this little town.
Yeah.
One of my friends had come to DC to go to Howard and called me out the blue and was like, "Have you ever thought about getting out the area? Why don't you move and we could be roommates?"
Mhm.
And I moved to DC, and that's really when things started jumping off for me. And I had various jobs, like I worked for Blue Cross Blue Shield in marketing. I did various things, but I always had a side business.
Mhm.
And from that marketing, then I worked at other businesses where I had helped them launch their business. So I bought a franchise before,
Mhm.
so I know what it's like to set up a business,
Mhm.
and I've been assistant director of operations, and so all of those things, I kind of use my experience in different ways.
Mhm.
But I had a franchise. I've been a personal trainer. I've done like a lot. I'm like a Renaissance person.
Yeah.
Um, and I got married shortly after I moved here and was married for almost 20 years. I have a daughter and I have a grandson. And once I got divorced, my daughter was in private school, and I was like, I need something that's like really stable. I can't keep moving around. And I was presented the opportunity to work with this law firm. And I had worked for another law firm years before that and said I never would again because
Mhm.
it's extremely stressful. But
Mhm.
this firm was very laid back, and I went there. I doubled my salary while I was there. And so it was very stable,
Mhm.
but it wasn't like a thing where I wanted to do for the rest of my life. But as I doubled my salary, my options outside of that were started being kind of limited, or I thought they were limited anyway. They really weren't, but I thought they were because I was looking for other accounting positions, and I don't have a CPA, so a lot of them required a CPA or MBA and all these things, and I didn't have them. So I just thought, okay, I'll be here till I retire, which is how so many women think.
Yes.
And so I'm all about showing them that that is not true, that there are other options. And literally, that happening to me, them telling me that I'm highly compensated enough, was really the thing that really skyrocketed the change
Mhm.
for me. But along the way, I had a lot of health challenges. So in 1 year, I had a brain tumor, back surgery, and my thyroid removed
Wow.
right before my marriage split up. So
Yeah. Yeah.
and my daughter was born 3 months premature. So I've had like my grandson now, my daughter and my grandson live with me, and my grandson has a disability. His right arm didn't fully form, and he doesn't have full use of the right hand. He's 4.
Mhm.
So my mom was paralyzed. My youngest brother died of terminal brain cancer a couple of years ago. So
Yeah.
all along my career, it's been waves of tragedy, illness, all the things. But I, look at me. I tell people if I could do what I've managed to do with all of those things happening, that they could do it too. And I
Yeah.
and I want to be an example of I know I am an example of what's possible, right? And that's what keeps me going. Like I really my desire is to help women get unstuck and for me to show them the way. And I always I have this vision, like I'm the person at the end of the tunnel and they're in the tunnel lost, but I'm at the other side with my hand out saying, "Come on, I got you." Like
Mhm.
that, I envision that with everybody that I work with.
Hmm. What would you say? What was it? Is there something, a recurring theme or a recurring feeling that you had as you were experiencing so many of those challenges? So, three significant health challenges right before a divorce that's tough. The loss of your sibling, that's really tough. These are all really challenging situations to have to live through. But what would you say is it that keeps you, obviously you have to keep going because but what is it that made you kind of stay strong, stay level-headed and just keep pushing forward?
I just think it's like I'm born this way. I
Mhm.
really believe I'm born with this mentality,
Mhm.
like to not give up. And so all along the way, I get support, I get help. And there's never been a part of me that was resistant to that. And so I think my openness to getting support has kept me on the journey, on the path, and not giving up. And I've gone, don't get me wrong, I've gone through periods, a year, 2, 3 years, where I just was in a funk and just going through the motions like everybody else, but there's still a piece of me that won't allow me to stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I just, it's just part of me and my personality. Now, can people learn it? Yes, I think they can, because there's ways to shift our thinking and our identity that I didn't know when I was younger. So even though I was kind of doing it, I didn't know there was a way you can literally, and something bad doesn't have to happen. Like I shifted identities because of tragedies and negative things. But my goal was to shift identities because I want to,
There we go. There
right?
we go.
Not because life is pushing me and making me so uncomfortable, but shifting identities because I want to and I can.
Yeah, there we go. Now, one of the things that I found really interesting, and I'm going to just point this out for some of y'all who may not have caught this. So, when she says she's a Renaissance woman and can do almost anything in business, I want to point out number one, she worked in marketing, so she understands some fundamentals of how to promote a business and maybe even more than fundamentals. She was an operations manager or operations director, so she knows how the pieces need to pull together, and and she probably has a lot of experience with a lot of different systems, and so that means she can execute well and manage projects probably more than likely. You have run a you've actually run a franchise, and so whatever that entails to get that physical franchise up and running, the construction, the customization, all of those different things. So I'm just sitting here thinking you really are a Renaissance woman. And then, of course, let's not forget the economics background. That means she understands how markets move. She understands the macro and microeconomics, and she understands accounting. That means she can do her own bookkeeping. So
Yeah,
that's the business
like
coach you need to be contacting because she knows all the aspects of a business.
yeah,
I just wanted to point that out for people who in the back did not hear that because she really does have a really, really well-rounded business experience. So hats off to you for that. And you always had a side hustle, so you were always thinking of ways that you could offer your services or products. So that's fantastic. You got a lot of energy and certainly have a lot of really good experience. So we're going to dive a little bit into your business. So you're the owner of Gail Keys Allen Coaching, and for those of you who are interested, definitely check her out at gailkeysallen.com. Other than working with your clients, what do you think you love the most about your business? In other words, what are you most grateful for as a business owner?
the thing I love about my business is training and content, and I'm very creative and I love to write. So I do free trainings all the time. I have so much content that I've created, and I love the creative aspect of it. I love Canva, all of the things. And it's so funny, even though I have the accounting background, that's the last part of my business that I want to do, really. And I probably because I did it for so many years and I'm like over it. But the creativity that I can use, um, and then the ability to kind of move my calendar around, decide when I work, where I work, how I work, all of those things I find to be so fun. Like right now, I'm in a season of how can I work less but make more?
Yes.
That's and how can I take better care of my body and my mind and my soul and work less. So I literally have been walking like every morning I walk almost 2 hours.
Mm.
And that's not anything I ever did
Mhm.
before. I mean, I always worked out. I told you I was a personal trainer, but that was years ago. But I decided I'm going to start growing my business in a non-traditional way. Like I'm all about non-traditional, non-strategic.
Mhm.
Like mine is more my approach to things is more spiritual in that if I call it download, if I get direct, divine direction, divine instruction, a lot of people we all get it, but a lot of people ignore it and are afraid of it. I'm leaning into following it. no
Yes.
matter how scary it seems. So
Yeah.
most people aren't going to tell you to run your business like that.
Yeah. 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 Well, I did not catch the part where you said you were also a personal trainer, nor did I ever learn as that you also have creative skills. So, and you actually enjoy doing it. And now, and you actually have the time to do that. Some people just kind of, because maybe they're only right brained. And, that's what people probably think with accountants. Tell me if I want to make sure is it left brain or right brain where you're really numbers focused and,
Right. I think it's right, Brian.
right brain. But yeah, so you've got the creative skills to really like I said, really be able to address all areas of your business and probably reach out only when you need additional support. So hats off to you on that. And is there a client experience that, really solidified your decision to become a life, money, and business mindset coach?
Yeah, I had a client who came to me because she wanted to start a side business. She's a designer for Target, so she works like in the corporate office. She's a designer. And during COVID, she was working remotely, and she's shared with me that and she had just lost her mom, and so she shared with me that she really wanted to relocate. So this is where the life, money, and business comes in because she really wanted to start the business, but she also wanted to relocate. And then she said, Gail, I really would rather relocate so I can set up my office or whatever she wanted to set up in her house before launching her business. So people say they want to launch a business, but a lot of times it's bigger than that.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, if you want to relocate, where are you moving to? She said,
Mhm.
I don't know.
Hmm.
Okay, so that's a problem right there. So
Yeah.
she was living in Oregon. She said, I either want to move to France or to Hawaii.
Oh, wow.
It's a big, big move, but she goes to France a lot for her job.
Mhm.
So I'm like, well, which one is it? She said,
Hmm.
I don't know. So I want to point out, this is where people get stuck and then they don't have any action. So I said to her, next week when we meet up again, you're telling me where you're moving.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I said, you've been thinking about this for years. Did you ask your job? Can you work in a different, because Hawaii is 6 hours. I think Paris is around that too, 5, 6 hours.
Mhm.
Can you work in a different time zone? I don't know. I never asked. So first thing I had her do was ask,
Yeah.
can she? They said, oh yeah, no problem. And
Okay.
she had been thinking about it for years. So then
Yeah.
I said, okay, where are you moving? And she
Yeah.
said, I'm going to go visit. I don't remember which island in Hawaii, but she went to visit, came back. She said, I'm definitely moving to Hawaii. In
Mhm.
3 months, I helped her manage her mind and manage her activities. And
Mhm.
she moved to Hawaii in 3 months.
Wow. Wow. You
And
know, go
I
ahead.
was going to say that really showed me oh, and then she was worried about how much she paid me. And
Mhm.
when her mom had died shortly before that. She ended up getting a check in the mail for the exact amount of my coaching,
Wow. Yeah.
like 2 weeks after she hired me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, that's that. And it's so interesting because you're right. Some people would get so caught up in making the decision that they don't actually act. And so having that accountability partner. So it's not just the coaching, it's the accountability. And then also it sounds like you helped her operationalize the move. Again, that's probably one of the ways that your operations experience also helps with, the benefits that your clients get from working with you because you can help them, develop a plan, not just, theoretical, right? It's also actionable, implementable. So I think that's fantastic. And that's what some people need. Sometimes people need the theoretical and then they can activate on their own. Some people need both. So that's fantastic that you offer that. So what are your thoughts about money avoidance? And I asked that for a reason. Would love to get your thoughts about that.
I don't think it's a problem.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Probably not what a lot of people would say. I
mm-hmm,
think money avoidance
mm-hmm,
allows you to see what you need to pay attention to.
mm-hmm.
Because if we dig into it, you can only avoid it for so long.
Yeah,
Something things are going to start popping up, right? And so when you start being aware of the things that the drama that's happening, the different emergencies that you're having to deal with, that's information. Most of us were not taught about money,
Mhm.
including me. I learned how to count other people's money,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? I
Mhm.
wasn't in personal finance. I was in accounting and economics, right? So money avoidance to me, it's not a problem. To me, it's like having an allergy or something. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, it's inconvenient, yeah, but most people are money avoidance.
Yeah.
Like the percentage of people that are like on top of their money and doing all the managing it well and budgeting and all these things, the percentage is super slim.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anybody to me that's listening that feels like that's what they're doing, I don't want them to feel like there's something wrong with them. Because
Yeah.
that's what happens too.
Mhm.
People think there's something wrong with them and then they're embarrassed and then they don't get help.
Yeah.
But what if it was an opportunity to grow?
Yeah. 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 So I asked the question because I know for years I was what I would consider money avoidant. And so for me, when you are money avoidant, then you're not making strategic decisions about your money. So basically the way that I ended up addressing it was over time, and I've never shared this publicly. I remember over like a 3-month period, every single day, Monday through Friday, not the weekends, I would open up my accounts, look at every account, and then not just my banking accounts, but my investment accounts, both business and personal, for 3 months straight, because I wanted to get in the habit of looking at everything. And then I started realizing, oh, this is how compound, what is the word I'm looking for? When you have debt, when they compound the debt, I was able to actually see how that stuff works. So, as a money coach, I just wanted to know what your thoughts were about it, because for me, I knew I needed to address the avoidant behavior, so that I could be more strategic and take more responsibility, because I believe the avoidant behavior was based on, fear,
Right.
stress, just not wanting to take responsibility for it. So this actually is in line with what you're saying. The avoidant behavior reveals other things.
Totally. And for me, I mostly deal with the mindset around money. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not going to teach you how to budget and all these things. I'm looking at where did your beliefs come from? Because
Mm-hmm.
the money mindset can affect how much money you make in your business in a great way. Because if you think I've only made, say the most somebody made was 150K, and
Yeah.
then they get into their business, but they're on the thermometer of 150K, and you tell them they can make 500 or a million,
Yeah.
most people don't believe it.
Yeah. Yes. Mhm.
But belief is the beginning of the journey.
Yes.
Because once you believe and then you ask how, right? And you start looking for examples of how, then there's all these opportunities that present themselves that you would not have seen if you had told yourself, I can't or I don't know how.
Exactly, exactly. And that's so this what you just said is very much in line with a lot of what our other guests are sharing, either because they have experienced it, they really believe it, and you are also, basically parroting the same thing we've heard, that first you have to start with a belief, and then ask yourself how. I love that you brought up identity. That's very similar to James Clear's Atomic Habits. And he's not the first, but he really breaks it down, right? That first you have to become the identity, and then, determine, okay, what are the habits do you need to be able to become the identity? And then, of course, then you will be able to reach your goals. So I really appreciate you breaking that down. So we just have a few more questions. But one I really wanted to talk about was your approach to non-traditional relationships. What does that really mean to you? And what non-traditional relationship were you in or are you in?
What it means to me is thinking outside the box and going against what society says.
Mhm.
So I started dating someone 23 years younger than me.
Mhm.
some of my clients, when I was open about it, like people literally unsubscribed from my list.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
people unsubscribed. We had gone to Europe and I posted pictures together.
Mm-hmm.
People have these self, like these conceived ideas, preconceived ideas about what money, relationships, all the things look like, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then because you're dating, you're like, it's okay for a man to date
Yes.
somebody much younger,
Yeah.
according to society. But so that's what I mean by non-traditional. I have a lot of friends that are way younger than me. Because
Mm-hmm.
you said we were going to talk about my age, but most people don't think I'm the age that I am. So I get approached by younger men, but also I make friends with younger people. There was a point where my accountant was 33, my daughter was 33. This is a couple of like 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my book writing coach is 33. Like everybody that I'm attracting is 30 was 33. Oh, and then I had a peer coach, 33. And I'm like, what is it with the 33-year-olds?
Yeah.
But I love the energy. I love learning from them. And there's something about my spirit that draws
Mm-hmm.
younger people to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I could have said, oh, they're young or he's too young or this and blocked it all.
Mm-hmm.
Then I would be like missing out on so much in my life. And
Yeah.
so the other part is I encourage people to think outside the box.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I do not subscribe to society's rules that are keeping us stuck, especially as women,
Yes.
right? So that's what I mean about non-traditional relationships. Even when I worked in corporate, one of my coworkers, she was, I don't know, probably my daughter's age or younger, and she used to get a kick out of telling strangers. We'd be walking down the street or at lunch, guess how old she is?
I know.
Like, stop telling people my age. Yeah, it was so funny. But I
Well, that's what I'm doing. I'm about to do. That's what I'm doing. Because actually, as I was preparing for the podcast, I went back on Facebook. I said, "Is this is Gail Keys?" And I said, "Wow!" So I can't wait to reveal that. I think it's just fantastic. I think it's obviously a reflection of what's inside. And so I just think it's funny. Yeah, that's what I'm about to do, Gail. So tell us about your no limit life. If you're open to sharing, what is the next big thing you want to accomplish?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked that. Literally, I have a whiteboard and I was like planning out because I like I'm a big thinker. Like I have big ideas, I'm a big thinker. But I planned out like my identity shift. And my next identity shift is to become more of a sales expert and to start working with businesses more local to me and
Mm,
not just working with people online because I started my business during COVID and I've mostly been pretty much almost 100% been working with businesses on people launching businesses online. But I'm going to start working with people more locally. And actually, I've gotten 3 clients recently that all live close to me, which is so wild.
yeah.
And then the other thing is I am researching and claiming I'm going to write a book on identity shifting and
Mm,
how women can say no to society's rules about what it means to be a woman and how much money we can make and what we're capable of doing and to not stop just because you've reached a certain age. So that's my next identity shift.
mhm.
Um, yeah, because people ask me all the time, literally all the time, what's your secret? What's your secret? What's your secret? And I felt like if I say these things, I'm conceited. Like before I used to think, oh, I don't want to feel like I'm being conceited or whatever. But people need to know.
Yes.
People need to know. And it's not really a secret, it's a lifestyle. It's
Yeah.
a way of thinking, right? And so now I'm going to start talking openly about how I'm the age I am and I've been able to do the things I do and have the mindset that I have because it is very, very different than most people my age.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love it. I can't wait till we get to the chance to reveal your age. So one of the things that I want to make sure that those of you who are listening or watching us on YouTube, if you're eager to find out more, again, go to gailkeysallen.com or gailkeysallen.com. You'll also follow her on Instagram at Gail Keys Allen. No hyphens, no underscores, just at Gail Keys Allen. So my last two questions for you before I reveal your age. What does an age has no limit life look like to you? I think you kind of touched on it with the last answer, but I didn't know if you had anything else to add to that.
Yeah, no limits means doing what the hell you want to.
Exactly.
Seriously, a couple of weeks ago, I just I just had this feeling I need to go to the beach.
Mhm.
And I knew I didn't have time to go like on a plane or somewhere far, but I live in Maryland, so there's beaches, a couple hours away from me. I
Mhm.
just went online, made a reservation, and went to the beach by myself for 3 days. That's a no limit life.
Yes.
Like I just decided and I made it happen. And I
Yes.
do that. I didn't used to be like this. I was just thinking like everybody else, like, oh, I can't, my business, this. When I first started my business too, I wouldn't have done this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, no limit is deciding I'm going to walk 2 hours a day.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
literally yesterday,
Mhm.
I had it in my mind where I wanted to walk, and actually, my community is very walkable, but I didn't know if I could make it the whole distance. And so, fortunately, my daughter went to work late yesterday, and I said, this is what I'm going to try. If
Yeah.
by some reason I can't do it, I will call you so you can pick me up before you go to work because I left like at 6:30 in the morning. That's a no limit life.
Yes.
Like knowing that you never did it before, but you're going to attempt to do it anyway. And 99% of the time, you can do it.
Yes.
You
Yes.
can do it. And I mean, I walked for 2 hours and 16 minutes yesterday.
Yeah. I'm going to briefly piggyback on that because do you know how long I've been saying, Patrice, one of the ways you can prove to yourself you really have control over your business and over your time is to go and take a walk either every morning or at lunchtime. And I have yet to do it. That when you and I'll let you I'll just let you add to that. I won't even add anything else, but because I think I'll let you go ahead and speak on that.
Yeah, it changes your brain.
Yeah.
It will change your business. I
Yeah.
am so serious. It will change your business. It will change your brain.
Yeah.
Because when you're walking, ideas will come to you that you will not have sitting at your desk. And
Mm,
even when I was in corporate, I for a long time didn't take lunch or I'd eat at my desk. And then I decided I'm going for a walk every single day at lunchtime. Even
yeah.
when I was in corporate, it would be, if it wasn't snowy or ice, even if it was like a little drizzle, I would
Mm,
still go
yeah. Yeah.
because you will become a different person just
Yeah.
by doing that one thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, doing it, making the decision and actually doing it, because again, because when you're a task oriented person like I am, when you say, I'm going to drop whatever the five things are that I think in my mind are hot button items to go for a walk, that is to me, number one, it's, again, kind of going with the flow with what I want. Number two, taking control of my time. A lot of people don't realize that, yes, you have a business, you can control your time, but you also have to control your mind so that you can control your time.
Oh, yeah. See, this is the other thing. Add the walk to your calendar, add the walk to your task, to your schedule, so
Yes.
that it is part of your business plan. What if walking is part of your business plan?
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I never thought about that. Adding it to your business as part of, wow, I never thought about that. I love that. See, y'all,
Yes.
I'm getting coached. I'm getting coached. I'm just kidding. So this is the time when I'm going to ask you to reveal your age to the audience. You can do it in whatever way you'd like. But y'all are going to be floored.
Well, I'll do it this way because I think it ties into my business and all the things I've shared. I graduated from high school the year that women were allowed to get credit cards.
Wow.
I graduated from high school in 1974. I am 68 years young.
Yes.
Look at
60.
the skin.
I know. I know. I love it. I love it. That's why when I saw that, I said, "Is that a typo?" Oh my God, you look wonderful. It's interesting. You said that you hang out with young people. You can definitely sense and feel the energy. And again, you're just a wonderful example of what we try to do on this show. But I think you've taken it up a notch, and I really, really appreciate that you've come to tell us a little bit about the way you see life, your non-traditional approach to relationships. Just telling us a little bit more about how you really are a Renaissance woman and all the things that you've done. And guys, I'm going to end the show by first thanking Gail for joining us, but also just really, really happy that she has been here to show us that age really has no limits.